right, folks, let's dive right into this one, because you're not going to believe where this story goes. But before we start, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or town in the comments below. I love seeing how far these stories reach. Y'all, this is the kind of thing you read about in a trashy gossip column, but nope, it's my real life. And let me tell you, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how the hell it even got to this point. So buckle up, because this is going to be a long one. For context, I, 32F, live in Houston, Texas, with my now soon-to-be ex-husband, Mark, 35M. We've been married for 6 years, and up until recently, I thought we had a pretty normal, boring married life. We have a modest house in the suburbs, a golden retriever named Max, and we both work full-time jobs. I work in project management, which, sometimes requires me to travel out of town for a few days. Mark works in sales, mostly remote, so he's home more often than I am. And let me just say, I never thought that would be a problem. Now, to set the stage here, Mark and I haven't exactly been perfect lately. For the past few months, he's been different. I don't know how to describe it, just distant. He'd get up earlier than me, spend hours locked in his office with his phone glued to his hand, and even when we were together, it felt like he wasn't really there. I'd ask him about it, and he'd brush me off with some, work's just been stressful excuse. And me, being the idiot who trusted her husband, thought, yeah, okay, makes sense. Looking back now, I should have seen the red flags. Like, there were definitely moments when my gut was screaming at me to pay attention, but I just ignored it. For example, a couple of weeks before this whole thing blew up, I walked into the kitchen while he was on his phone. The second he saw me, he locked the screen and shoved it in his pocket. I jokingly said, "Ooh, what's the big secret?" And he got super defensive, saying, "It's nothing, just work stuff." And I, being the trusting wife I was, laughed it off. Work stuff. Yeah, right. Anyway, fast forward to a few weeks ago. I had this big work conference in Dallas, and I had to leave for a whole week. Mark seemed totally fine with it, almost too fine. Like, when I told him, he was just like, "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll take care of the house while you're gone." I remember thinking, wow, he's being so supportive. Turns out he was being supportive because he had his own plans for the week. So I pack my bags, kiss Mark goodbye, and head off to Dallas. The first couple of days go by without any issues. I'm busy with conference stuff, barely have time to text him, but when I do, he's super casual about everything. Max is good. The house is fine. Hope your trip's going well. Nothing weird, right? Wrong. On the third day, I get a phone call from my neighbor, Karen. Yeah, her name's actually Karen, but she's not that kind of Karen. She's cool. Anyway, Karen calls me and she sounds concerned. She says, "Hey, I didn't want to bother you, but I noticed something weird at your house today." My heart immediately drops because, what does that even mean? I ask her what's going on and she says, "There's a woman moving stuff into your house. Furniture, boxes, she's moving in." Y'all, I thought I was going to pass out. I'm standing there in the middle of this fancy hotel lobby trying not to cause a scene, but my brain is going a million miles a minute. A woman? Moving into my house? What the actual hell is going on? I try to stay calm and I ask Karen if she's sure. She says, "Oh, I'm sure. I saw her pull up in a U-Haul and everything." At this point, I'm shaking. My first thought is, did we get robbed? Is someone squatting in my house? But then Karen says something that stops me dead in my tracks. Mark was there. He helped her unload the boxes. Mark, my husband, helping some random woman move into our house while I'm away. I couldn't even process it. I thanked Karen for telling me and hung up, but I was in full-blown panic mode. I tried calling Mark immediately, but of course he didn't answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. I sent him a text that just said, "What the hell is going on at the house?" No response. I spent the rest of the night pacing around my hotel room, going over every possible scenario in my head. Maybe it was some kind of misunderstanding, maybe this woman was a family friend or something. Yeah, I know how stupid that sounds now, but I was grasping at straws. Deep down, though, I knew something wasn't right. The next morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I told my boss I had a personal emergency and needed to leave the conference early. He was super understanding, which was a relief because I honestly wasn't in the mood to explain anything. I got in my car and drove straight back to Houston. the whole time thinking, this can't be real. This can't be happening. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw her car parked there, a shiny white BMW X3. Not exactly the kind of car you expect from someone casually visiting. My stomach was in knots as I walked up to the front door. I unlocked it, stepped inside, and there she was, a complete stranger, standing in my living room, unpacking a box like she owned the place. She looked up at me, completely unfazed, and said, "Oh, you must be Mark's wife. I've heard so much about you." I couldn't even speak. I just stood there, staring at her, trying to figure out if I was hallucinating or if this was actually real life. Finally, I managed to say, "Who the hell are you and why are you in my house?" She smiled, and said, "Oh, I'm Jessica. Mark didn't tell you I'm moving in." Moving in. Y'all, I thought I was going to lose it right then and there. I said, "Excuse me? Moving in? What are you even talking about?" And she had the audacity to say, "Well, Mark told me you were having some problems, and he invited me to stay here while things settle down." I'm not proud of what I did next, but I straight up screamed, "Get out of my house!" She looked at me like I was the crazy one and said, "I think you should talk to Mark before making any decisions." Decisions? Lady, this is my house. Right as I was about to completely lose my mind, Mark walked in. Of course, he looked like a deer in headlights when he saw me. He stammered, "Oh, you're home early, like this was some awkward surprise party or something." I turned to him and said, "Mark, who is this woman, and why is she unpacking in my living room?" He started mumbling something about miscommunication, and it's not what it looks like. But at that point, I was done. Let me tell you, things went from bad to straight up insane in the span of about 5 minutes. So there I am, standing in my own living room, staring down this random woman, Jessica, who's unpacking her crap like she just signed a lease. And my husband, Mark, is standing there looking wants the earth to swallow him whole. I turn to him and say, "Mark, you've got about 3 seconds to explain what's going on before I completely lose it." He starts stammering like, babe, it's not what it looks like." And Jessica, oh my God, she has the nerve to jump in and say, "Mark, just tell her the truth. She deserves to know." Deserves to know? Deserves to know. At this point, I'm shaking, trying not to throw one of her stupid boxes across the room. I turn to Mark again and say, "What truth? What is she talking about?" And then he says the words that will probably haunt me for the rest of my life. Jessica and I have been seeing each other for a while. Y'all, I lost it. I didn't even know what to say. I just stood there, staring at him, trying to comprehend what the hell I just heard. Seeing each other? For a while? This man, my husband, was standing in front of me, casually admitting to having an affair like he forgot to take the trash out or something. Finally, I snapped out of it and said, "So let me get this straight. You've been cheating on me, and your brilliant plan was to move your mistress into my house while I was out of town." And you know what this idiot says? He goes, "Well, I didn't think you'd be back so soon." He didn't think I'd be back so soon. I thought I was going to explode. I turned to Jessica and said, "And you, what kind of person thinks it's okay to just waltz into someone else's house and move in? Do you have no shame?" And she looks me dead in the eye and says, "Mark told me you two were basically separated. I didn't think it'd be a problem." Separated? Separated. I was so mad I couldn't even form coherent words. I turned back to Mark and said, "Is that what you told her? That we're separated? Because last I checked, we're still married." He starts backpedaling, mumbling something about how he didn't know how to tell me and how he never meant for me to find out this way. Oh, so I was just supposed to come back from my work trip and find another woman living in my house like it's some kind of sitcom? Absolutely not. I told Jessica, "Pack your crap and get out of my house. Now." She looked at Mark like he was going to back her up, but he just stood there like the coward he is. She finally sighed, grabbed her purse, and walked out, but not before saying, "I'll be back when you two sort this out." Oh no, ma'am. There's nothing to sort out. You're never coming back. Once she was gone, I turned to Mark and said, "Now it's your turn. Start packing." He had the nerve to act shocked like he didn't see this coming. He said, "Wait, babe, can't we just talk about this? I made a mistake." "A mistake? A mistake." I said, "A mistake is forgetting our anniversary or leaving the toilet seat up. This This is a series of deliberate decisions you made to betray me and humiliate me. You don't get to call that a mistake. He started whining about how he was confused and how things had been difficult between us lately. He said, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I love you, but I didn't know how to fix things. I was so done. I told him, you didn't know how to fix things, so you thought cheating on me and moving your girlfriend into our house was the answer? Are you even hearing yourself right now? He kept trying to apologize, but I wasn't having it. I told him, we're done. Get out of my house. And here's the kicker. He refused. He said, this is my house too. You can't just kick me out. Oh, but I could. I told him, fine, you want to play that game? I'll call the police and have you both trespass. Try me. That must have scared him because he finally grabbed his keys and left. He didn't take anything with him, just stormed out like he was the one who had been wronged. Unbelievable. I spent the rest of the night changing the locks, calling my lawyers, and crying into a bottle of wine. I can't believe I wasted 6 years of my life on this man. And the audacity of Jessica, moving in like she's claiming her territory, I can't even wrap my head around it. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I've filed for divorce and I've blocked Mark and Jessica on everything. My lawyer says I'm well within my rights to keep the house since I paid for most of it, so there's that. But honestly, I just feel numb. How do you even process something like this? TLDR. My husband's mistress tried to move into my house while I was away for work. I came home, kicked her out, and now I'm divorcing his sorry ass.